to take the trial up to level 60 was one of the best decisions that company has ever made. It's why they're growing and not declining. A lot of other MMOs out there that have been out as long as Final Fantasy XIV are declining. Final Fantasy XIV is still breaking concurrent numbers. They're still growing. At this stage in the game, that is incredible. We don't know if this is real or not, but this is a supposed leak of the World of Warcraft thing that's going on, and nobody can confirm if it's true or not. There's a lot of things in here that make it a little bit suspect, and it just says
Shadowlands is bad. Critical response, player drop off in just about every engagement metric outside the cash shop has been catastrophic. No higher up expected this because we are too big to fail. If we built it, they will come mentality. That's a sentence right there that makes me think that this is not real. If you're sending an email, a corporate email, or any kind of internal communication, nobody's going to say the words higher up. That's how you get fired. So that to me just says, no, that's not. This is probably not real. They refuse to accept their focus on the world being a begrudge mechanic to funnel players to rating. They spent the last 4 months trying to course correct, but there's no solid direction, and the response to 9.1 has only made things worse. I'm not saying these points aren't valid. I don't think they're actually legit. Sylvanas was planned to replace the Arbiter despite so many people in the company, and God knows how many online saying will be a total replication of Kerrigan's storyline in StarCraft 2 that killed non-competitive interest in the brand entirely. You can only go, no, they will like it eventually. Wow, I didn't even think about that. The whole Kerrigan storyline and Sylvanas do have parallels. I just thought about it. I didn't even know that. The elephant in the room is Final Fantasy XIV. To the people in charge, they're acting like it came out of nowhere and don't even seem to understand why it's drawing players away from their tens of thousands. I know, right? A lot of people think that. They think Final Fantasy just got good. And I'm just like, no, we've been saying it for a long time. We've all tried to highlight things it is doing that are clearly appealing to an MMO audience, and not, in my opinion, focusing on a mobile game style, retention traps that keep MAU users and habit-forming personalities logging in. Well, that's heavy. It's not like they don't care. It's just they seem so pig-headed and digging their heels in with their fingers in their ears, thinking all the problems will go away because WoW is too big to fail. There will never be real competition, and they will keep coming back. But they aren't coming back anymore, not in the numbers they used to.
Okay. That's the first paragraph of like 40 paragraphs. It's a big communique that I'll link to you guys in chat, but I'm not going to cover it all. I think this tweet response, though, is actually much more interesting. The tweet response by Grums. Grums is I think he's a former lead dev at Blizzard. Team lead of original WoW. Producer on StarCraft, Diablo, and more. So this guy is legit Blizzard. So I think I have more interest into what he's saying about this. So let's take a look at that.
Supposedly, this is a Blizzard leak about the current state of WoW. It may not be legit, but the attitude described about the monetization and how devs view gamers and hate of streamers is true overall in AAA dev.
That is a very telling sentence.
How did we get here? A couple of things happened in AAA dev that led up to this point. The biggest thing is the money. Once AAA gaming got bigger than all of media, you start to attract a lot of execs who are in it for the immense profit versus the love of making games. This change starts at the top and is made worse by game companies going public. This starts to flow down to middle management who are starting to make serious cash. The why of a company changes. Instead of going for games they would love to play and identifying them gamers as themselves, they're now a sense of other. We made the games, they pay for them. OG Blizzard culture used to be we are gamers right down to the receptionists, and we make games for ourselves because we are gamers. That is gone now, and devs at many AAA studios are distinctly us versus them. The whiny, entitled gamers.
I haven't found a single... He hadn't missed yet. There hasn't been a single... These are all line drives base hits so far. He has not missed.
This was not helped by the increase in personal attacks on devs by gamers themselves. Gamers are passionate, and unfortunately, it's like I said the same thing. And unfortunately, this move beyond... That's why I can't read that. It's not... This moved beyond criticizing the game to personal attacks and some really unsavory and threatening behaviors.
Yeah, that's exactly what I said about them being... They're not expressing their passions properly. Go check out my video.
Let's get back to the money. Once games were obvious moneymakers and everyone started to play them, and a cool rep, you start to attract a different type of developer. The first wave did it for free, made very little money, very little success, just to make dreams happen. But once games were viewed as a stable, myth, and more glamour career choice with good pay, you start to attract the types of professional who are very good at their job, but are definitely what I like to call 9-to-5ers. They treat it not as a passion, but as a routine job.
Seriously, guy hasn't missed yet.
Again, this wasn't helped by upper management, who is now fully flooded with MBA and marketing types, who treat devs poorly and binge hire and fire them from project to project, treating them as tools. Hard to have passion when both management and angry gamers don't have your back.
He said something right there, chat. He's talking about developers. It's hard to have passion with your management and the gamers yelling at you.
Then Zigna blew up big on Facebook, and metrics were becoming more important along with predatory monetization. When mobile exploded and everything became free, but with pay to win, the sheer scale of gaming profits leapt in the order of magnitude or two forwards. Billions, not millions.
He ain't kidding. Mobile just... People still don't understand the magnitude of how much mobile makes. They really don't get it. These guys literally print money. And I'm not talking about meme print. They print money. If they need another billion, they'll add a new character. And make it, they don't even need to make it pay to win. Just add a new character. Okay, we just made $1 billion yesterday. It's that huge. It is really that huge.
Suddenly making games for game's sake was not the goal. Now games needed to collect metrics, retain users, and the way success was judged was more about how much money per user you can make versus having a great game. The focus moved from gameplay to monetization metrics.
Hasn't missed yet. I usually I can find something to disagree with now, but I'm like 10 tweets in. Hasn't missed yet.
When you design for monetization metrics, you get a very different type of game than if you design for gameplay. You do. The two are often at odds. You find yourself deliberately making your game worse so it can sell better convenience items and power items.
We see it all the time. Oh, he's going to reference the Steve Jobs Pepsi exec video, isn't he?
Yeah. Steve Jobs was right. When you let this type of why drive your company and you make monetization your only goal, you kill the innovation in your company and you drive out the innovators and makers. Yep.
That's a very... I reference that video all the time.
While Jobs was talking about sales and marketing staff versus product makers, in games, it's worse. In games, designers are now the sales staff. The gamification of monetization makes or breaks a AAA game. So now, even your product people are contaminated by this mentality.
Oh my gosh. Dude, I mean, get this guy like a contract with a baseball team. He is just hitting home runs, man. He's his base hit after base hit after triple after double after triple after... My goodness, he just doesn't miss.
The devs who do it for the passion, who are tired of being blamed by gamers for corporate decisions above them, and who do it out of genuine passion, well, they leave and go indie. What remains are those who are doing it as a job. One they often hate, and they are not innovators.
Okay, small disagree here. Small disagree, because I think he's right in that a vast majority of them are like this, right? A vast majority of devs who do it for a passion, they do leave and go indie. A lot of them, though, need to get experience and they need to get a start. So you can be passionate coming out of school or whatever, or you just learn how to code and you want to make games, but you want some experience. There are developers out there, I believe, who are genuinely passionate, but are stuck in the rut of that 9-to-5 mentality, right? So I think there's some exceptions to what he's saying here.
The arrogance is also real. Steve talks about how you get surprised because you have a monopoly on the market. WoW had a monopoly on MMOs, and they are no longer gamers, but game salespeople. So, of course, they're prone to disruption. In this case, it wasn't Square in Final Fantasy by itself. That just happened to be a game that was competing on gameplay instead of monetization because they were not the monopoly. It's also an old enough game where the old values of gameplay were more important.
Let's talk about Square a little bit. Because Square isn't innocent. I know everybody wants to make Blizzard the enemy. Square isn't innocent. Look at what they're doing with these pixel remakes of their old Final Fantasy titles. And tell me Square is innocent. Look at what they're doing. How they're price gouging these 40-year-old games. And how they're taking the old ones off the market so that you only have a choice to buy their new pixel remakes, which are grossly overpriced. So Square, they're not innocent by any means. Listen, I love me some Yoshi P. I love the Final Fantasy 14 dev teams, but the parent company, they're not innocent at all. They got the same type of mentality going on. They're trying to monetize. They're trying to monetize, and they're doing a lot of similar things that Activision does, and it is not pretty. Not pretty at all.
What sparked the exodus from WoW started with a player base that was tired of being treated as customers, are often treated in a monopoly, taken for granted, poor service in terms of content, not being listened to, milk for cash and fees. Then came the streamers.
Here we come.
Streamers are the world's biggest force in game marketing.
I said this 10 years ago.
They can make you a success overnight with zero trad marketing.
Oh, traditional.
With zero traditional marketing, Apex Legends, or they can absolutely tear your game down.
That's true. Apex Legends, if you guys don't know, the game came out of nowhere. Nobody knew about it. All of a sudden, it was there. Streamers were streaming it. And all of a sudden, it was the #1 game on Twitch, and everybody was playing it. There was like no build up to it. There was like, it was just out of nowhere. They paid Shroud, they paid Ninja, they paid all these big streamers, and there was like no traditional marketing, and now Apex Legends is still one of the top BR games. It's still one of the top BR games, and they did non-traditional marketing.
Many traditional AAA game marketing never understood this, and many still don't get it today. When streamers were just getting started, I was told by my EA and AAA staff marketing team what a waste it was to do YouTube and Twitch even though it cost a fraction of ad spend. Listen.
As somebody who was on the forefront in the beginning of trying to negotiate deals with companies, we got ignored so much. We were laughed at. I would get these emails that people were just like, well, we can't do this because we don't know who you are. And it's just like people would just they wouldn't even respond. They would block you on social media because you're quote unquote bothering them because you're just a streamer, and they wouldn't give you the time of day. Now it ain't like that. Because they finally got it.
Of course they were wrong. Now they curry favor and spend money on Twitch and YouTube, but they really don't understand it.
I agree with that so much. Oh my gosh, they don't understand it. They throw money at it because a million people watch Ninja.
They spend money on it, but they don't actually watch the streams to understand when things are going wrong. Or they don't actually believe it will affect them. So when Asmongold started dipping his toes into alternatives to WoW, interviewing Final Fantasy content creators, and then finally playing it himself on stream,
this guy has been keeping up, dude.
Blizzard was unaware or unbelieving of what was happening. They were the monopoly.
Serious, man. He's batting like a 900 right now. 950. Probably like 985. I think he struck out like maybe once. But no, actually he got hit with a pitch and he had to leave and they get the pinch hitter. That's why he's like 985. His batting average is oh my goodness.
Even Asmongold was taken by shock at the sheer number of viewers his Final Fantasy stream attracted. Even he had underestimated the number of dissatisfied and curious for alternative WoW gamers.
I've been saying this for years, man. Like my wife and I agree. It's just like a lot of WoW gamers, they don't know what they're missing. They just don't know what they're missing. They have been conditioned to think that MMOs should follow a certain pattern. And if it doesn't match what WoW does, it's not a good game. They've been told by this by Blizzard. They've been told by this by their friends. They've been told by this by their guild leaders. They've been told by this for everybody who plays. They're like, dude, if you go over there, they do this way, and it's not like this. And like, oh, really? That's weird. Yeah, and it's wrong and bad. So play our game. So a lot of people that are trying Final Fantasy 14 now, they will tell you that they've never played another MMO before. And I know that's kind of shocking to a lot of people, but these guys, WoW was their first MMO, and they haven't touched another one. They don't even know how other MMOs work because they were, and now that their friends and their guilds are emptying out and everybody's going over to play Final Fantasy and their favorite content creator is playing Final Fantasy, Preach is looking at Final Fantasy raids and analyzing them. All these big content creators that have reached to billions of people practically. I don't know if it crossed a billion. It's way up there. Are now saying, hey, this other game is actually pretty good. And now all these people are downloading the best trial ever created. This is where Square needs to get credit. Oh my goodness. Square Enix needs to get credit because WoW has a free trial up to level 20. But this free trial to Final Fantasy gives you untimed, very, very limited gameplay up to level 60 across 2 expansions, multiple jobs on the same character. I was showing my wife this tweet of this guy who's been playing the trial since last August. And you know what he said when they approached him in game? Of course, he was all 60 and everything. Since last August, he said, I'll consider buying the game once I run out of things to do. He's almost at a year of playing the game at a trial level, almost at a year. And he still hasn't run out of things to do. I was like that shook me a little bit. I knew the trial was good, but good grief. It's like, well, maybe I'll buy it if I run out of things to do. You got Blizzard got players leaving for whatever reason, but then you got this trial where there's just like no barrier to entry. There's literally no barrier. You download, you play. Unless the digital copy. Oh, actually, that doesn't even affect the trial. I was gonna say unless the digital copy sold out. But if you're a trial, you just have to find the server to get on. So this is a storm that was. Listen, Square did some right things too. I gave Square a little crap earlier about their pixel remasters of Final Fantasy, but their earlier Final Fantasies. But they did the decision to make this, to take the trial up to level 60 was one of the best decisions that company has ever made. It's why they're growing and not declining. A lot of other MMOs out there that have been out as long as Final Fantasy 14 are declining. Final Fantasy 14 is still breaking concurrent numbers. They're still growing. At this stage in the game, that is incredible. If you're not the monopoly. Okay, back to streamers.
Well, what happens in streaming? Only once one creator, I can't read this guy's words. Once one content creator hits a gold vein of views, others quickly hop on. Suddenly you have many WoW streamers talking about Final Fantasy and starting to stream it. What's a WoW game to think?
Listen, as someone who's been kind of shifted his YouTube focus, you guys probably saw it on my YouTube channel. I've been talking about this because everybody wants to see it. Now, what kind of a content creator would ignore that? You got a topic that you know about that everybody wants to see. What, you're gonna not talk about it? That's like a news agency just ignoring the biggest story. This is a hot topic. Everybody wants to listen to it. Everybody wants to see different perspectives of it. It is the biggest surge in MMO news in history that I can think of. So it is the biggest story. So yes, we're going to talk about it. Now, I'm not going to chase every story that Asmon does and what anybody does, but I am going to talk about the very interesting things. Because it affects me too. I talk to a lot of new Final Fantasy players daily. I know WoW people. I have played WoW. MMORPGs has been a part of this community for years and years, so this is my wheelhouse.
The rest is history. The king is dethroned, an expression of shock on his face. Oh, he says, what's a WoW game to think? Sometimes you don't need the best product. You just need to be good enough to take advantages of a company that has rested too long on their brand and monopoly to actually change, to innovate and improve.
That much is true. But you guys know my opinion on just the enormity of WoW. You know my opinion on it. I just think it's gotten so bloated and so amoebus that they can't even kill themselves if they wanted to. You guys know how I feel about that.
This won't stop. WoW gamers are leaving for good.
I'm not convinced of that either. I still believe, and a lot of you disagree with me. You've expressed your disagreement. I still believe that they are going to go back. So when everybody says I'm leaving for good, I want to see them resist the next expansion. With the cinematics, with all the hype, with all their guildmates saying, hey, are you going to play? We're going to raid. We're going to raid. I want to see them resist that. I want to see them just say, no, I'm never going back, and actually follow through with it, because I honestly don't believe them. And it's not a ding against them. It's not a ding against Blizzard, not a ding against Square. I just think it's reality, man. They're going to go back. I really think they're going to go back. Whether they stay or not is up for debate. But for people who say, I'm going to leave WoW and I'm never going back, I just don't believe it. So that little surge that Blizzard relies on whenever they do a new expansion, it's going to keep happening. And they're going to keep funding. So I just think it's a cycle that's not going to stop.
But if the monopoly can wake up and pull an expansion out as a turnaround as drastic as Square did something with a Realm Reborn, it can flip around again.
I don't think they even need that.
The problem is Blizzard, you chase all your innovators away, oh well.
I don't think they even need that because, like you said earlier, they know what their players want. They have developed a very, very effective monetization strategy. Bobby Kotick is getting bonuses because he made Activision tons of cash. Y'all may look at that man as being evil, but he made Activision a ton of cash. So the man is getting bonuses because he knows what these gamers want. And people will break out their wallets and get it. And it goes to a very old saying, if you don't buy a product, it won't survive. So the reason WoW is the way it is because y'all buy it. I mean, if you want to break it down to the simplest terms, the reason why WoW is the way it is and they're going to keep doing it is because y'all going to keep buying it. Don't nobody want to hear it. People don't want to hear that perspective, but it really comes down to that. It really does. It comes down to whether consumers vote with their wallet or not. And you'll find that a lot will not. They will not vote with their wallet. They will buy it.
I'll leave a tip for Final Fantasy. Follow this and you will 10x your sales and user base. Take it from the WoW guy. Fix your account website. Oh my gosh. Take 6 devs and do an emergency rewrite. Thank me later. It took me 3 hours to buy your game and figure out account issues. I'm not alone.
This man is so right. It's actually painful. The single worst thing about Final Fantasy is Mock Station and their account system. It is so terrible. Oh man, how can you? It's like you recommend a game to somebody and then you go, okay, you decide to play. I apologize because you're about to go through the worst experience of your life. It is so bad. Oh man. And half the people end up buying the game twice. That's how bad it is. You know your system is bad that people accidentally buy the game twice. There's people that got like 5 copies of the game because they bought it on Steam. And the complete edition was on sale on Square. And they bought the complete edition on Square. And they're like, wait, I can't put that edition on my Steam copy? No, you can't. I guess I'm starting over then. Oh my goodness. It's so bad. It is so bad. It is so bad. Listen, I love Final Fantasy 14, but this I cannot disagree on. It is the worst system I've ever seen. It's like they actually don't want you to buy it. It really is. It's like, okay, we want the most patient customers to play our game. So if they can get past the purchase boss and then get to Mog Station Savage and then get to Steam Ultimate, and if they beat those bosses, then they'll be worthy to play our game. Anybody else, we don't want them to play our game. Sir, that's maddening. Why would you do something like that? Because it really feels like they don't want people to buy their game. That's how bad it is. You guys think I'm exaggerating? Trust me, I'm not. It is the worst purchasing experience I've ever had in my life. By anything. Any product ever. This is the worst purchasing experience I've ever had. I've never had trouble giving company my money as much as I have with Square Enix. It's like they don't want it. It's really like they don't want it. So Grums gave us a great take on this. Like I said, I'm not going to talk about the leak itself because it's huge, it's long. I'm not qualified to really say things are legit or not legit, but I did see some language in there that really just felt off. Like it sounded like a conversation with somebody in DMs or something, not like a corporate communication. If you're going to say higher ups and profit base and, you know, all these vitriol things, you're not going to say it. Because, I mean, listen, IT can read everything you see. If you're working a 9 to 5, trust me, they know everywhere you're browsing. They know every word you're typing. They do. It's not paranoia. They know everything you're doing. And if a CEO wants to, they can get your entire log history and see what you're talking about. You agreed to that when you signed on with the company, so it's not a surprise. They know. So if you're in a corporate VPN or a corporate network environment talking like this, nah, Chief, I ain't buying it. I don't think this is real. Now, it could be a Blizzard employee talking to somebody like on a Discord or a private Slack somewhere. You know, that's possible. But this is not an internal communique by any means. By any means. But Grums, he nails it. Dude nails it, man. Absolutely nails it. I'm actually impressed with how much he nailed there. Because I have been echoing a lot of those same sentiments for many, many years. And there was only a couple little small, minute, tiny, little, they're not even points. They're like little semantic things that I disagree with. And, you know, my stance on WoW never dying is controversial anyway. I don't expect anybody to agree with that. I just feel that way. I just feel like WoW is so big that they'd have to turn off the servers for it to die. For real. It's just that, it's that enormous. And people are addicted to it, man. They're addicted. Addiction is strong, nostalgia is strong.